Hey everybody, this is Greg-Petix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the Petixodian Institute of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to be looking at Adventure Comics number 425 through 427. These came out in late 1972 through early 1973, and it was a bold move by editor Joe Orlando to move Adventure Comics away from superheroes and turn it into basically a non-superhero anthology. It only lasted 3 issues, this experiment, unfortunately. And but a lot of great stuff is packed into these issues. And I wish it continued. It was kind of aborted pretty early on. Before 425, these were all Supergirl comics. And then they started this new direction. And after 3 issues, it went back to, Black Orchid, the Spectre, Aquaman. But these 3 issues are really good. Are packed with some great cartoonists and great stories. So let's take a look at them. This was all the brainchild of editor Joe Orlando, by the way. It was his idea to try this out, but apparently it didn't sell very well. So right here we start off with a beautiful Mike Kaluta cover. This is wonderful. I just love this design here. I love having the old school Adventure Comics, like Golden Age logo. Just the graphic design of this cover is very striking to me. I like it. Oh man, and we start right off with this first story is this is an illustration of the first story, and we got Alex Toth, and just right off the bat, Alex Toth is doing what Alex Toth does. Alex Toth was constantly experimenting with panel layout and, how to tell a comic story better and paring down his art to its essence. And I love this first. I don't know if you can even tell what this is, but for some reason, this opening shot, he's doing it from a worm's eye view. We're totally looking up. It's such a weird angle to show these characters, but it's amazing. And so the story, it starts off, we have rodeo showman Chad Hammond, and he's on this quest in the Himalayas. Because I guess there's this ancient legend about these hawk horses. They're, kind of like Pegasi. And he wants to capture one of them. So he has these guides, Himalayan mountain guides, and they're basically telling him not to do it. They're like, we shouldn't go up this mountain. It's a sacred mountain. And he's kind of forcing them. They have no choice. When one of them says he's going to turn around, he puts a gun at his face. Says, move, I said. So he gets up the mountain, and over the snow line, he finds a meadow. And it's actually like a warm, nice meadow. He assumes it's warmed by underground springs. And that's how it stays warm, freakishly warm. So he realizes this is probably the hawk horse's grazing land. And he looks over and he sees a little foal. And he's going to lasso it. He's going to capture it. And the guides are saying, no, you must not. It's forbidden. And then suddenly from above, a bunch of the hawk horses fly down on him. And he shoots... Oh, I'm sorry, it's just one. And he shoots one of them. He shoots this hawk horse who's coming down on him. And here we see the title, The Wings of Jealous Gods. The story's by Lynn Marin. I've never heard of her before or since. But I kind of like this groovy 70s lettering. Alex Toth always seemed to have that in this period. So he shoots the hawk horse. And he's basically saying, more of those hawk horses are going to come down and attack us, so let's get out of here quick. And the guides finally, they're like, we don't care if you shoot us, we're getting out of here. You're going to die alone. You're cursed. So he's deserted, but he traces his path back down the ice slopes. And he's got his little foal with him. He's going to take him back to civilization. And then the hawk horses arrive. Now there's like 3 or 4 of them. And we got this white one. He's like their leader. But they attack him, but they can't get to him. He's in this little cave. So they give up trying to get him, and they go further down the mountain. And they find the guides who left him. And they attack them. He can hear their screams. Later that night, he reaches the valley floor and the temple where he met the guides. He's totally unaware of the dead bodies of the guides that the hawk horses left behind. So he gets down to the temple, and the guy at the temple, the head guide, is saying he survived. He's saying, trying to trick him into thinking that he's just got a worthless, wingless horse. And he threatens to kill the horse. He's like, well, if this is just a normal horse, I don't mind shooting in the head. And the old guide says, no, wait, I lied. It is a hawk horse foal. The wings don't grow for 3 years. When they're 3 years old, their wings grow. So he's planning on taking it back to the US of A. And the guide says, you don't know the needs of the foal. He needs rare herbs for food and special meats. Foal will die if you don't take good care of him. So the guy says, okay, you're coming back with me. You're going to be his handler. So when he gets back to the US of A, he, while he's waiting for the wings to grow, he decides to put him in horse races, make a little money off this foal. And it turns out the foal is very fast. And I guess he's a pony now. And wins him a lot of money through horse racing. And then this part of the story really doesn't make any sense. This is deadline writing. I guess they ran out of time. But eventually, when his wings are about to come in, it's been like almost 3 years. And he plans to have a veterinarian cut off the hawk horse's wings as soon as they grow in. Because he says, I can't race a circus freak. So he's winning so much money with this horse just being fast, he totally forgets that if he had a winged horse that could fly, he could make a hell of a lot more money than any horse has ever won in any horse race. Kind of ridiculous. And he went through all this trouble to get a flying horse, and now he's going to chop his wings off. So his guide from the Himalayas, from the temple, he's like, you can't do that. That's like ultimate sacrilege. So he pulls a knife out, and he's going to stab Chad. But Chad overwhelms him and knocks him out, and then he lights the stable on fire to, hide the evidence of his wrongdoing, his murder. And he tells everyone that the horse was in that fire. But he tricked everyone. He actually secreted him away to this hidden ranch. And after 3 years, the wings grow. And he has the ride of a lifetime, he says. He's riding the horse around, flying around. And then all of a sudden, the white stallion hawk horse shows up. Flew all the way from the Himalayas. And he doesn't attack him. He just leads the other hawk horse, his hawk horse, all the way across the ocean back to the Himalayas. And no matter what he does, he can't get his hawk horse to obey his commands. So they make it back to the Himalayas, the same place where they were. And once they're there, the stallion picks Chad off the hawk horse and flings him into a nest of little hawk horse chicks. And they've got needle-toothed mouths. So here's where we find out what their special meat was that they're sustained by. It's human flesh. And Chad Hammond gets his just desserts, or at least just main course. Just really nice Alex Toth art. It's a rare treat to get to see him. Here we have a 2-page kind of sci-fi story with a twist ending, and it's a really dumb twist ending. it's drawn by Frank Redondo, pretty well, pretty nice art. On the comic book database, it didn't even list the artist. Nobody knows who this, writer. Nobody knows who this writer is. So it's probably for the best, because that guy should be ashamed of himself. So these aliens come to Earth, and they want to invade Earth, but their whole thing is to trick Earthlings by acting like they're non-aggressive. And they say, we mean you no harm, and we have already transformed our images of our likenesses to you. And undoubtedly you have noted how similar our physical structure is to your own. So they look very human-like, humanoid. And they send pictures of themselves to so people will say, oh, look, they look like us. They're not really scary aliens. And then we see inside the alien spaceship, and they're talking about their plan about, haha, this is all a trick. As soon as they let down their defenses, we're going to attack. And then this is how inept this story is. They kind of give it away. It's only 2 pages, and they already give it away. Like, you could probably guess what the hell's going on here already. Or at least part of the twist. And then all of a sudden, Earth's forces attack. And they fly away. They make it safely away from Earth. And they realize that it would be a folly to return with additional forces now that they've lost the element of surprise. So that's, they're not going to invade Earth anymore. And then the leader is wondering. He just can't understand how they suspected us of being aggressors. And the camera pulls back. This is so stupid. And he looks just like Adolf Hitler. So just the chance that these aliens, 1 in a trillion chance, this alien would happen to look like Adolf Hitler, who invaded Earth. and somehow that's how Earth was like, wait, these guys are bad. He looks like Hitler. Just ridiculous. Just utter nonsense. But nice art. And it's nice that they're, I like the idea of having a little 2-page short story shoved in. I wish that they did that more in comics. Here we get Sword of the Dead, story and art by Gil Kane. This is some nice 70s Gil Kane. By the early 70s, Gil Kane definitely had his style, dialed in. And this is right up his alley, this kind of story. It's about this evil knight named Evlig. He's almost supernatural, just how much devastation he creates, and he's it seems like he's indestructible almost. And he goes around just killing and just doing horrible things everywhere he goes. So he shows up at this house. There's a woman and a child in there. And he's got bad ideas in his head. No good can come from this. He rides off to do some more evil stuff. And then the husband of the woman who lived there, he was out hunting. His name's John the Repentant. And as he comes home and he finds his dead family and buries them. But he thirsts for vengeance now. So he goes in his house, and it turns out this guy used to be John the Gaunt, a very heroic, famous knight. So he gets out his own knight gear, and he's going to chase down Evlig. So he finds him, and they go at it, and they joust. And Evlig knocks John off of his horse, kind of falls down this little hillock. And all of a sudden, there's a play of light around John, and he rises, sword in hand. And he kills Evlig. And then when he's done, he kind of reels dizzily. He knows his time is near. And he feels his hold of mortal earth slipping away. And when he looks down, he can see his own body dead from Evlig's deadly accurate lance thrust. And he's fading away. So basically, Evlig did kill him during that joust, but he got a few ghostly minutes left for revenge to kill Evlig. Kind of goofy story, but Nice cocaine art. Here's the real meat of this issue. Captain Fear, Chapter 1. This is the very first one. Script by Robert Kanigher, but way more importantly, art by Alex Niño. This is just some beautiful stuff. Alex Niño, it was, I wish he did more DC in the 70s. He did a handful of stuff here and there. It was always exquisitely well done. As we can see with this, he's got such a unique style, Alex Niño. So it starts off, we're in the Caribbean. We got these natives who are very happy with life, just fishing, and then all of a sudden a Spanish galleon shows up. And the Spaniards basically kill as many Caribbeans as they can. And then the ones that survive, I'm sorry, I just got to stop to look at this, Alex Niño. Like, it kind of goes abstract here. Just all this great panel layout. This is just good stuff. So, yeah, they kill almost everyone, including the chieftain, and who sacrifices himself for his son Pharaoh. He jumps in front of a bullet. He's a human shield. So Pharaoh bravely fights them, but, he can't win against all of their guns. And him and a few other survivors end up making it to this island. After his father dies, there's the chieftain drowning. And they swim to this island, but then the Spaniards catch up to them and capture them all and enslave them. Look at this this is the face of the Spaniards. This is total abstraction. It's amazing jungle. This is such good stuff. So after they're enslaved, they make them work in this mine. And Pharaoh, though, he's not having it. He tells all the guys, his fellow tribesmen, he says, "We'll strike tonight before we get too tired, while we still have strength. And while they're drunk." So they escape the mine and attack all the drunk white devils. And they're doing pretty good. And Pharaoh's leading them. And they make it back to the galleon. And they take over the galleon. They kill all the guards left on there. And they sail off. But a horrible storm disintegrates their ship. And Pharaoh is the only one left on this hunk of wood, the sole survivor. But after a few days, some Asian pirates pick him up. Look how beautifully this ship is drawn. That's some nice stuff. And they haul him into the ship, and it doesn't look good for Pharaoh. These guys are not good guys. They're probably going to kill him or enslave him again. So he's glaring at the captain. And the captain says, "Oh, you want to fight me for command of the ship? You think you're a tough guy?" So they tie their arms together and do a little sword fight. And Pharaoh wins, kills the captain. And nobody else wishes to challenge him for command, so he declares that from now on, he will call me Captain Fear. For fear is what I mean to put in the hearts of every white devil I meet. And the pirates say, "Hail, Captain Fear, we follow you to hell." So this is a great first chapter. Definitely sets it up in an intriguing way. I can't wait to read the next chapter myself. And that's it for the first issue of this bold new direction for adventure. Number 426, the second issue. Not as great cover by Dick Giordano. Kind of just And here we have the first installment of the Adventurers Club, written by John Albano and drawn by Jim Aparo. And this is kind of a weird series where it's really just a loose frame for an anthology series. We have this guy, he's like the CEO of the Adventurers Club, and the idea is that every issue he's interviewing a new member, and then the new member will tell us a story. And that's really what the Adventurers Club is about, these individual stories. And it's kind of nice. I forgot that Jim Aparo could draw pretty well at one point. This early 70s Jim Aparo is pretty nice. And I don't know what happened. It's kind of sad that he had these chops at one point and then he just let him go. So he tells the story. It's all about this machine gun, this Tommy gun. And we flash back to the 50s. And we got this, there's this gangster named Scorch Thompson. He's a bad guy, really bad guy. So he's doing a drive-by shooting to kill one of his rivals. But this innocent bystander woman gets caught. And she gets killed. She gets caught in the crossfire. His driver isn't a complete bastard. And he's kind of giving Scorch some shit. He's like, you should have waited till that kid got out of the way. And Scorch doesn't give a shit. He's just, it's her crummy luck. Come on, let's move. So Scorch was picked up by the police 2 days later. And he's like, you got nothing on me. You got no witnesses, no murder weapon. Because he throws the machine gun away. The Tommy gun. So down at the station, the slain woman's father shows up. And he asks the detectives, he says, can I just have a few minutes alone with him to talk? You've already searched me for weapons. I give you my word, I will not lay a hand on him. So they just figure, what the hell? We'll let this guy talk to him. So he goes into the interrogation room and just comes out a few minutes later. And it makes Scorch a little mad. He's like, get him out of here. I'm not talking to him anymore. And pretty soon they have to release him. They release Scorch and the driver. And they're just planning to have a great day. And all of a sudden, Scorch sees the slain woman, the visage of the slain woman. And it's freaking him out. So he's like, let's get out of here. And then they're about to drive away, and he sees him again. He sees her again, the apparition of the woman. So he's chasing after her. And then she stops in front of this steel girder here. And he's got his Tommy gun, which he's retrieved. And he kind of stupidly, he says, I'm going to get real close to make sure I don't miss, baby. And he's shooting at her, just rat-a-tat-a-tat. Of course, she's just a ghost, so all these ricochets fly off and one hits him right between the eyes, killing him. Then his driver, before he dies, he admits the crime, so they solve it. The driver gets put away to jail for like 20 years. And a week before he's about to get his freedom back, he gets a visitor in jail. And it's that father of the slain woman. He's still alive. And it seems like he has no grudge. He just wanted to talk to the guy. And now we cut back to the Adventurers Club where the guy who's, interviewing. He says, it wasn't until after I left prison that I realized he tricked me the same way he tricked Mr. Scorch. Turns out this guy, the father of the slain woman, he's like the best hypnotist in the world. And he put him under the same spell he put Scorch under. So basically now, for the rest of his life, this guy is going to be haunted by the vision of this woman. He's going to see her accusing eyes wherever he goes. And there's nothing he can do about it. Seems like he could go to another hypnotist to make it stop, but I'm just being nitpicky. Got the letter page. All these dumb kids suggesting other things they should, superiors they should put in, but I'm glad they did this instead. Here we have the first vigilante, and it's written by Carrie Bates and drawn by Mike Sikowski and inked by Dick Giordano. And it's kind of nice, this Dick Giordano inks over Mike Sikowski, because Sikowski can be a little clunky and weird sometimes. I like his design sense. But Dick Giordano smooths out all the rough edges, and it's kind of nice. So this story is about this woman, Amy Brandt, and she's an ex-drug addict who's, gone to rehab. She's come out clean. She's trying to make a new life for herself. And then she runs into her ex-drug-pushing boyfriend again, her ex-boyfriend who basically got her hooked on drugs. And he's pushing drugs on her once again. It's like, come on, baby, have some drugs. And she's like, no, not only am I not going to have your drugs, she attacks him and says, I'm going to turn you in as the pusher that you are. And maybe nail your supplier, Mr. Big. So apparently she's learned some martial arts because she really gives him a wallop. And then she runs away. He threatens that his men will hunt her down within 24 hours. He's like, you're a dead woman. So she runs off, and she's going to jump on this motorcycle that she sees. But right before she can, she gets lassoed and pulled to the ground. And it's the vigilante, our hero. And the vigilante's just this kind of a weird superhero. He just dresses like an old cowboy, and he talks like an old cowboy. It's like he just walked off of a John Ford movie set, but he lives in the modern world. He rides a motorcycle. But as far as he knows, it's the old Wild West, That's how he treats the world. So she tells him a story, and all of a sudden the guys attack. The goons of the drug pusher. So they drive off. Vigilante, he's a hero, so he's going to take care of her. They drive off up this mountain. It's all snowy up there. He gives her, I don't know how he happens to have this, but he gives her some skis so she can escape. And he waits to take on the flunkies of this drug lord. Causes an avalanche, knocks their Jeep out. He's beating the crap out of them. Vigilante's pretty good at what he does. But then after he's beaten up all the flunkies, he realizes the main guy's not there, and he looks at his binoculars and he sees the drug pusher, the ex-boyfriend, has put a tripwire across the path, so Amy is knocked off her feet. Vigilante jumps on his motorcycle, races down there as fast as he can, and when he gets there, the drug pusher's dead. And she says he was about to kill me, and then he suddenly collapsed. And then we kind of get this weird sympathetic ending for the drug pusher for some reason. And he says, I never told you, Amy, I'm a drug addict too. That's how Mr. Big kept me under his control. He cut off my supply and said he wouldn't give me another ounce until I killed you. But it's too late. So I guess his heart just stopped because of drugs. It just seems very coincidental and timely that he would die of a heart attack right as he was about to kill Amy from all of his drug use. So he asks for the name of Mr. Big. He wants to take care of this all the way up to the top. And she says, it won't do you any good. He's too powerful. The law can't touch him. But Vigilante doesn't give a shit about that. In his head, it's the Wild West. So he barges into his office. He's it's this big fancy office building. 47 seconds later, he comes out, tells the secretary, good afternoon to you, ma'am. And then pretty soon after that, Mr. Big comes out, obviously worked over by the vigilante. He's gotten beaten up. And he's got a gun. So he runs out to the street to find Vigilante to shoot him, and he slips and falls into traffic and is killed by a car because the snow. So kind of weird. He gets revenge. He serves justice to this guy, but only inadvertently and kind of on accident. I mean, he beats him up, and then I guess somehow predicts and hopes that he runs after him and trips into traffic. I don't know, but kind of like this cartoony art by Sikowski and Giordano. Here we get another juicy chapter of Captain Fear. It's now 1850. Captain Fear has taken a commission, basically. This rich guy, a captain of another ship, has hired him to retrieve his daughter, to rescue his daughter, who's been kidnapped by these religious zealots in Indochina. And they've captured his daughter. And so he hires Captain Fear to rescue her. Here we see her. She's about to be sacrificed by these religious nut jobs. And all of a sudden, one of the zealots starts attacking the guy who's going to stab her. And the other ones. It turns out it's Captain Fear incognito. He frees the woman. And the zealots say, trespasser, kill him. So they chase after him. And here they are. They've got guns, and they're shooting at Captain Fear. He's only got his bow and arrow, but he's in a really good spot to ambush them. And he takes out a bunch of them so they fall back. Let's look at this art. I like these colors right here. It's pretty nice for, you know, shitty 70s printing, 4-color printing. So they're on the run, and they're right behind them, the zealots. And it's kind of a weird sequence. In the midst of them trying to escape with their lives, she kind of like hits on him. She says, "Homie, I'm frightened." And he's really harsh. She's just like, "Save your kisses for another time and for someone else. If I must die, it will be fighting, not kissing." So he just blows her off, and she gets angry. And she's like, "You miserable savage." And he's like, "Listen, I'm just here because your father's paying me a lot of gold. Just enough with this romance crap. Let's just get out of here." So it's just so weird that this woman would be doing this in the middle, having this little hissy fit and flirting with him and trying to make time with him while they're running for their lives. So they make it back to the dinghy, and Captain Fear and the woman make it back to Captain Fear's ship. And once again, just interesting colors. The coloring department was trying to do stuff with the limited palette they had. And then the zealots are in their own ship, and they're throwing fireballs at them. And then they ram them, and they board the ship. So there's this great epic battle. Captain Fear and his men fighting the zealots, and they kill most of them. They kill, and the rest run off. So, and then it turns out the woman that he's supposed to has rescued, picks up a gun and holds Captain Fear at gunpoint. And he says, "What is the reason for this?" And he says, "Let me guess, your father's not a rich plantation owner, is he?" And she says, "True, but you're going to return me nonetheless for no reward. Now give your men the proper commands." So that's how the story ends. Here we go, the last issue of this bold experiment. It's number 427 by Louis Dominguez, the cover. Pretty nice. Here we have another chapter of the Adventurers Club. This one is about this amoral action photographer. He wants to be the best action photographer who's ever lived. So he will stage things. He'll like kill all these animals, even human beings, just to get a good shot, just to get something action-packed. And his native guide is just like, "Why do you do these things? This is horrible, driving these defenseless antelope into crocodile waters, just so you can get your good footage." But this guy's totally amoral. He doesn't care. He just wants what he wants. But he's kind of got this boss there who doesn't like his modus operandi either. And he's like, "You can't just keep making these incidents and, you know, playing with these people's lives just so you can get good footage." And right when he says that, we see the results of some of his meddling, of some of his staging. And he paid a local native to jump off this very dangerous cliff. And just so he can get, you know, some good footage. And he doesn't make it. He hits the rocks. He doesn't make it to the water and obviously dies. And this guy, all he cares about is that he got the whole thing on film. Everyone else is like, "Oh, how horrible, my God." And he doesn't care. So now we go back to our narrator, the guy from the Adventurers Club. Look at this great Jim Aparo art, man. He was so much better back then. This is just nice cartooning, nice comic book work. Once again, story by John Albano, and Jim Aparo is doing the art. So this guy's tired of, you know, our evil antagonist is tired of his boss, you know, laying into him. So he plans this little thing where when they come upon these lions one day, he jumps into a tree and like throws rocks at them to enrage them, knowing that they'll attack his boss and the native guide. And on top of that, he even took the bullets out of their guns, so they have no chance at all. So he basically murders them. And now he's free to do whatever he wants. So his next big thing is he goes to the village, and he knows about the sacred rite that this village has been doing for generations. And he wants to see it. He wants to be the first white man to see it. Everyone's saying, we don't know what you're talking about, leave us alone. But this one old guy, he succumbs to his bribe and says, I'll show you. Because he's greedy. So he takes him out to the jungle, and they find this place. This woman is staked to the ground. And I guess this ritual is this woman is going to marry the chieftain's son. And this will see if she's worthy. And, you know, they do this every time the chieftain or chieftain's son gets married. And this really scary lizard comes out of this box. And, of course, if it attacks the woman, she's not worthy. But this one turns around and just goes back in his box. So of course, the action photographer guy is just totally disappointed. He's like, oh, man, that's not very exciting. I wanted him to kill the girl so I could take some good footage. So he walks off. Look at this panel here. I love this. It's Jim and Para getting all ambitious here. It's drawn as if it's from underwater, looking up at the action photographer and the old man. And, the line work indicates it's all like, wobbly from the water. Just a really interesting, laborious panel. Must have taken him a lot longer than just drawing, whatever, a simple thing. But that's how Jim and Para once was. So the guy realizes that he left his camera case back near that place where the sacred rite was. And the old man risks his life getting it for him. He says, I'll go back and get it. But before he can fully bring it back to him, he gets speared in the back by the natives, and they're on the chasing him. So he runs for his life. And he gets to this little clearing, and he sees one of those lizards. And then he sees a bunch of those lizards, and they're all surrounding him, and they attack him. So now we cut back to the present, and he's telling the story to the Adventurers Club guy. And he basically informs him that I survived the voodoo lizard attack, but their bites did this to me. He's a lizard guy. Such a dumb ending. This was kind of an interesting story. I was kind of curious to see what was going to happen, and then this is the payoff, this idiotic ending there. The twist. Here we got another vigilante chapter, episode, and it takes place on this movie set. There's this movie star type guy, and in one of the scenes, he's shooting at a guy, a stunt man with blanks, But it turns out somebody changed the blanks in the gun for real bullets because they see that the stunt man's shot dead. And it turns out this is just all like a frame up by this producer. You can tell he's bad because he's ugly. That's how comics work. They lock up the actor. The producer's gonna get this guy arrested and put in jail, forever. He's gonna be the scapegoat because they wanted to get rid of that stunt man. Vigilante shows up. He's onto the plan. He's wise to the plan. So he beats up some of the goons who work for this producer. It seems like the whole film set is a front. So half the guys who work in the film are really just these goons of this criminal mastermind. He frees the actor, the falsely charged actor, and they confront the bad guy, and they defeat them. And we find out that their whole scheme was that they've been smuggling diamonds in the gas tanks of the movie set vehicles. And because they're a movie set, they can travel anywhere. Nobody's going to check them as much. Just whatever, typical story. I should say once again, it's Cary Bates and Mike Sikowski and Dick Giordano drawing it. Get another nice chapter of Captain Fear. And this time the script is by Steve Skeets. But still, more importantly, it's Alex Niño art. So that's all I really care about. So, as we left off last issue, Captain Fear is held under gunpoint by the woman he just rescued. And he gets the upper hand, though. Knocks the gun out of her hand. And right when he does, they say, "Captain, a ship approaches." And it's the ship of her, well, at one time father. Now we're finding out that it might not be her father. So he shoots cannonballs at him and rams the ship. And he's like, "Careful, you might hit my daughter." So they board the ship and totally overpower Captain Fear's men. They put Captain Fear, they tie him up down in the hold, chain him up, I should say. But then that night, the daughter who we rescued comes down and says, "I'm going to help you. You saved me from those religious fanatics, you know?" So she frees him, and she gives him a sword, too. She's like, "In case anyone sees you." As soon as he comes out of the hold, the captain's right there. And he says, "Have it thee." And they have a fight. And to the death. And Captain Fear kills him. Kills the captain. So all the crew attack him. And some nice little action panels of Captain Fear taking on the whole crew. He's a really good fighter. But then the daughter says, "I am your captain now. Stop fighting." It's kind of weird. The rules of secession on a ship is like the daughter gets to take over just because the father captain died. I don't know if it worked that way. So she says, "I have an offer for you, Captain Fear. I want you to be my second in command on this ship." And she tells him the whole story. That man was not her father. She was his slave. That guy, the captain, purchased her and then told everyone that she was his daughter. So she shares all of their secrets with him. Says, "I will, now that you're my if you agree to be my second in command, you'll know all the secrets." So he kind of figures out that, like, she planned the whole thing. She knew that the captain would be right there and he would kill her, the captain. And she says, and for my offer, will you? And he says, "Come here, wench." And he lands a kiss right on her lips. And she says, "Your answer? That was my answer. I will always do as I wish. I will never take orders from anyone, least of all you." And he jumps out the ship. So she's outraged. She's saying, "You'll pay for rejecting my offer. You will pay." So I haven't read any of these other Captain Fears, but it looks like we've got a nemesis for Captain Fear, this lady captain of a pirate ship. So hopefully we'll see her again one day. This jilted lover. The Alex Niño art is a little less. I almost have a feeling the editors talked to him. This is way more traditional DC style art than the first two chapters. Not as good. And I'm a little disappointed. But I'm pretty sure that they probably said, "Ew, you're drawing too weird," you know, because Alex Niño is great. And that's it for these 3 issues. I wish this continued on. It was I had a lot of great cartoonists, some interesting stories. Just nice to see stuff that's not superhero stuff. So that's it. Adventure Comics 425 through 427. You can find these pretty damn cheap. Nobody gives a shit about these, so hunt them down. There's some nice comics. Okay, I'll see you next time at the Petixonian Institute of Comic Book Studies.